Hi, everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Autoheterophiles, the interview series where I interview self aware AGPs and AAPs about their experience with the hopes that it'll help other people with these orientations see some experiences they relate to and feel less alone in recognizing themselves as having this orientation. Today, I'm joined by River. Um, Thanks for coming on the show, River.
Thank you for having me.
Uh, Usually a good place I like to start is just sort of chronologically. So I was wondering what were some of the early childhood experiences you had that you can now recognize as stemming from autogynephilia?
Um, so when I was around the age of 9 or 10 years old, I think it was, I started having like, you know how young boys tend to have like a certain type of underwear, but whatever. I kind of used it to try to make it look like like a feminine feminine underwear, I guess, because that was, and I think it usually starts off sexual. Well, at least not usually, but for me it did anyway. Um, and then I kind of, uh, as I got older, I also had interest in becoming like inanimate objects, but uh, I I think for the most part it was mostly just autogynephilia though, like the desire to be a girl, you know.
Yeah. Um, with the modifying your underwear, are you referring to say like rolling it up to make it like smaller?
Yeah, like or like kind of like pulling it back, I guess, and like tucking and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did how did things change once you started to enter adolescence and hit puberty?
Um, through adolescence, I gained this really strong crush on a girl, and then she put makeup on me, and then I realized, I think then I was around like it kind of like it kind of like resurfaced, I think, the feelings at around 16 years old, and maybe, actually not really resurfaced. I think I was still doing the same thing that I said earlier, until I was like maybe like 14 and then and 15, and then I think that at 16 years old this girl put makeup on me, and then I realized, okay, yeah, I think that I might be transgender. I didn't realize that I had autogynephilia though at that time. Um, I kind of I had a this girl put makeup on me, and then it just, I don't know, it made me feel excited, like really happy though. Um, Especially since it was coming from her too. But
Right, that definitely helps. Was this like a crush of yours or just a friend?
she was a crush. She what's it called? She had a hold on my heart. She had like a lot of there's a lot of stuff with that. Essentially I had like an obsession over her, but yeah, I try not to think about it now, but um, it really doesn't have a lot to do with autogynephilia though.
Right, yeah, just it's like just normal heterosexuality.
Yeah.
Um, you said that your feelings started to become more pronounced around age 16. How did that manifest?
Um, I would say that it kinda manifested in me, like, actually going out and trying to buy, like, women's clothes, and I actually created an alter ego that kinda see, I think what this might have been something to do with autogynephilia at one point too. I was actually trying to create this female character and then, like, put myself into her, uh, brain as a way to try and, like, get pleasure. Um, I realize now that's actually a thing that, has a name for it. They're called tulpas. For anyone who does not know that, they're like, they're like thought forms that you can make. You're not supposed to do what I did. You're not supposed to actually make them for that purpose, but because it's because there's I don't know, it's a moral delay, I guess, or dilemma with that. But about the
Why
autogynephilia,
why is it
yeah.
a moral dilemma to make a female tulpa?
Not to make a female tulpa, but just to like use them for pleasure. You know what I mean? Like just to use them for like sexual pleasure and stuff like that. Because then it like etches on the line of is if this thought form is a real sentient person, then I'm essentially using them as a means to an end um rather than as a person.
Right. So among people who create tulpas, there's sort of an ethics where they're treated um as their own persons and they have to be respected as such.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they have like this I had this tulpa named Elizabeth. We were like around the same age. We had like I like the idea of being her just to fulfill my fantasies of wanting to be a girl. And then essentially kind of I kind of kept her till this day, but kept her as more of like this respectful human being kind of character. Um yeah.
So like respectful in the sense that maybe you didn't have sexual expression through her, but otherwise did.
Yeah, like I started using her for more like communication, um, and started treating her like a person other than a sex object, you know. Um,
Yeah. How has your autogynephilia changed over your childhood and into adulthood?
um, I think from 17 to 18, I think that's when I was starting to put on the most women's clothes. Um, so 17 and 18 years old, I actually when I was 17, I met this girl um, who I think got my mind off that other person I mentioned for a while. So it's like, you know, I mean, besides the fact that I'm autogynephilic, I am also heterosexual in various ways. But I also think about men as well. I remember now when I was like the age of 10 or 11 years old, I was also doing things like thinking of being with my best friend who is a man. Um, and him being with me as a woman. That was a fantasy I had.
Right, it was specifically you being the girl in the relationship?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty normal in terms of meta attraction.
Yeah.
Um, you told me before we started recording that you're planning on transitioning soon. Could you sort of, discuss how you came to make that decision and what your plans are?
Um, yeah, I plan on transitioning to womanhood because I felt like it was I I found out that I'm autogynephilic, that there's actually a real name for that rather than being transgender, and I realized now, because before I thought I was transgender, um, around the age of 16. Um, I I had started getting feelings of wanting to be. Um, oh yeah, I started around the age of 16 watching the certain videos. There's stuff going on in the background. That's fine. There's like I started watching certain videos of like that hypnosis stuff, but I didn't really watch
Yeah.
it for the same reason a lot of people kind of watched it, I guess. A lot of people watch it for like the humiliation. I watch it just because I feel like I just really want to be the girl. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Like, you weren't into the emasculation aspect, only the being the girl aspect.
yeah. Um, when I think that the main reason I realized that I was autogynephilic is because I one day put clothes on that were women's clothes, and for a long time I had been wearing them, and then I stopped for a while, and then it was only like maybe like 2 or 3 days because I realized, okay, like this is miserable. I need to I need to keep wearing women's clothes because it just feels like me more than men's clothes, I guess. And and then my mom asked me a very interesting question, which was, do I feel like I would be autogynephilic if men and women wore the same clothes? And then I was kind of confused because I was thinking like, you know, I have because I it's not entirely and purely clothing, um, is what I was telling myself, and it is true, like, it isn't entirely clothing, but at the same time, I was thinking, like, "What else is it?" You know? And it's anatomical, you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
a very high degree. I want to be, and then I think that's when I started realizing, like, okay, I wanna actually transition. Um, a lot of
How
it
did your
also has to do. Sorry.
you said your mom asked you if you'd be autogynephilic if men and women wore the same clothes. And I was wondering, did you tell your mom about autogynephilia, or did she already know about it?
I told her about it.
How did that go?
It went good, actually. She's very supportive of it. She's just very curious, but at the same time, she 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 understands it really well, because of her own experiences. But she also feels like not necessarily that she's going to lose me if I transition, but that is going to lose the image of me. You know what I mean? Like
The
the
persona.
yeah, which is hard on her, but she supports me.
How did you learn about autogynephilia? And when you did, how did you feel about it?
Um, oh yeah, that's right. Um I learned about it from uh I think I was trying to coin terms. I was trying to look all over the internet looking for names because people kept telling me like I am not HSTS. I'm not transgender. And then I realized like okay, there's something different here because there's a sexual element. And I was talking to trans women who are HSTS and they were basically telling me like something that's wrong that I'm not transgender, right? But they were telling me that um they were telling me that being transgender is like something that's more of like an instinct than it is like a sexual aspect. And for me I think it's an instinct too. I'm not entirely sure if it's I'm not entirely sure if it's instinctive uh or if it's like more like something that um that I just know deep down. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the trans women you were talking to online that said they were HSTS. What platform did you find them on? Was it 4chan?
it was on Discord, but I don't know, they were telling me that I wasn't really transgender because they didn't understand what autogynephilia like perfectly. I don't think they just have like the kind of like um like the basic like kind of scratching the surface of what autogynephilia is. I think like which is the idea of like the perplexity to be sexually aroused by being a woman or something like that. But I think that there's more to it, like because I ran into this when I was putting on a particular set of women's clothes. Um, I actually woke up in the middle of the night just kissing myself all over the place because I just felt so in love with myself. And I don't know if that's an experience that a lot of people have, but that's just my own unique experience, I think. Um, I felt like I just needed to find a release in something. I don't know.
Do those like usually when I encounter trans women online that say they're HSTS, as far as I can tell, they're almost invariably AGP and just meta attracted. Um, especially like if they're on Discord, that's kind of I think online places like that attract sort of like nerdy males in general.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that they were actually HSTS?
Well, the way they described it to me, they said like that they wanted absolutely no part of the sexual element. And if that's true, then yeah, I do believe they might be HSTS, but if they're just trying to deny something about themselves because of the shadow that I believe in, like from Carl Jung or whatever, um, which to those who don't know, Carl Jung's philosophy is that essentially, well, I'll try to like oversimplify it a little bit because it's a little bit complicated, but it's basically like people believe that that's in something that is only part of their shadow, like all the things that you were told not to be, not to do, get put in the shadow, and I think this is relevant to autogynephilia, to people who like deny their sexual experience, because like it almost seems like it's one of those projections that they keep inside, like it's one of those things that they keep inside because they don't want to let it out. Um,
Right, like that sort of side of themselves might be upsetting to themselves, and so they choose not to allow it to express itself.
yeah,
But that's cool that that you came out to your mom and she seemed pretty relaxed about it.
yeah,
Um, have you come out to any other people in real life about it?
yeah. I've come out to my grandmother. I've come out to even my dad. I don't think he really understands. Not because he doesn't want to or anything. I think that he just um doesn't really have the. I mean, he's just I don't know. He has like a learning disability, so he he might not completely understand that. But but he basically just told me like, yeah, I support you in whatever you're going like feeling or whatever, because I told him that I was going to transition, and I think he kind of understands what that is, but I don't know.
It,
Yeah.
you said that you think your mom understood autogynephilia because of her experiences. Are you referring to experiences of being a woman, or that she has some autoandrophilia?
Um, I think that, well, she tells me that she has gender dysphoria, but it doesn't seem like it's very specific to what like she hasn't told me like what specific kind of gender dysphoria, you know what I mean? Like that she had when she was younger, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me particularly that she says that she doesn't have it anymore, but I guess that's an experience people can have, so I won't, you know. But she I guess she worked it out with God or something.
Is she religious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That I I was asking about your mom because I think that there's a huge genetic component to
Yeah,
this.
I think so too.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense to me that on average, women might be able to get over the gender dysphoria better just because their sexuality is a little more fluid and maybe a little less insistent and specific. And so I think they might have a little more malleability with respect to how they can cope with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm not
have
entirely
you,
sure. Or sorry, I'm not entirely sure what it's like to get over gender dysphoria, you know what I mean?
yeah, it'd be great if there was a little more research into that just so that there was more options for people with these feelings.
Yeah.
So I imagine you've paid attention to the transgender movement and trans discourse for a while. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any hot takes or just what's your perspective on the transgender movement?
Um, I try to understand it as much as I can and be open to pretty much everyone who has gender dysphoria. And I'm essentially what I want to do is I want to try and figure out um how to make it so that way people can like live together with each other, and instead of just like insulting each other uh because of the way that they are, like I think that society will eventually get better because it always has, I think. So I take a very progressive stance on it, I think.
Like that you're would you say you're overall down with the trans rights movement then?
Yeah.
Um you you mentioned that you're in some self-aware AGP discords. Um how is what is it like in those online spaces to participate in those compared to more mainstream ones?
To be honest, I find it really interesting, kind of intriguing because a lot of people in these spaces tend to be a lot more like me than I've like ever seen before. Like even in real life, I don't really relate to people nearly as much as I relate to people on these Discord servers. And I guess it makes me think of like what's the brain chemistry, you know what I mean? Like the what kind of research could we do on like the neurological part of things that makes us um that makes is there like some kind of difference about people with autogynephilia based on the um based on the brain patterns or something? I don't know.
My current guess for why um sort of AGPs in the self-aware discords are so relatable is that there's probably high rates of Asperger's or high functioning autism in there,
Yeah.
and I think that's really it's overrepresented among AGPs as a population, but especially the self-aware AGPs, because I think that people with autism they can accept true things even if it's emotionally uncomfortable or maybe politically problematic, just simply on its truth basis. That simply if something is true, then like that's sort of the end of the argument.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting too to me because I myself I actually have autism, so it checks out, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that probably most of the guests I've had on have, Asperger's or, significant autism
Yeah.
traits.
So yeah.
Do you what's your plan for transitioning?
Um I'd like to talk to my doctor a little bit more about it, but I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on hormone replacement therapy, and then from there I'm gonna see like what parts of my face that I really want to uh change if there's anything left over that I feel like I need change. And then I'll probably either go through like facial feminization surgery or maybe like, Botox or filler or something. But, Botox and filler, they're more so just for the aesthetic, Like I wanna look good as a woman. I don't just wanna be a woman, you know what I mean? Like so that way I can look good to myself and feel more in love with myself and in general. And
Yeah, to, like, make it easier to care about yourself.
yeah.
Have you been in any, romantic relationships yet?
Um, yeah, I've been in well, actually now that I think about it, it was more of a friends with benefits kind of thing. But as an adult um I did the same thing. I also had another friends with benefits thing. Um I wanted it to be that. I don't think it was really mutual. She kind of wanted something more romantic, I think, and I mean, I was honest with her. I told her that I wanted to that, this is what I'm here for. Um I think I don't know. It probably wasn't my best decision I ever made because I mean, it was in this group home that I'm living in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Um,
risky. I like,
yeah.
I know from experience that's risky because my first girlfriend was actually my roommate at the time, and that to go from not having been in a relationship to living with them is, like, it's such a huge jump,
Yeah.
and it did not end well.
Yeah, it didn't end well on my part either. I won't get into that really because it's kind of
Yeah,
personal, but
no
yeah.
need to. Um, after you've transitioned, do you think, who what type of people do you think you'll wanna date?
Um, I'm thinking I'll probably date men more um often than well, I wouldn't say that I do because I don't. But at least I haven't in real life. Um I've dated people on the internet and stuff, and I think the internet stuff was more so for like romance and
Yeah, do you think you'll specifically look for GAMP men?
um like
Men that are attracted to trans women?
yeah, I could. I could. I actually really like that idea, but at the same time um I might actually yeah, that is a really good idea because I think that I myself am kind of uh on top of AGP. I just have like an attraction towards like the female body, but I also have like an attraction towards like male parts. Um
Yeah, that's pretty common for AGP to also have the GAMP on top of it.
yeah.
So you think you'll date, maybe GAMP men? Do you think you might date trans women? Do T for T?
Yeah. I don't really know a lot of trans women in real life though, but which is probably what I'm gonna be looking for mostly. I might find the trans woman in real life. I don't know. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go out and look for them though. 'Cause I'll just take whatever I see. If I see a man, I'll or a woman.
Yeah, sort of whatever opportunity presents.
Yeah.
How, confident are you in the decision to transition?
Um. I would say I'm pretty confident in that. Yeah. I got I mean people say what if I regret it? And I'm just like I don't think I will. I really don't think I will because I really am autogynephilic. Um and I really am transgender.
Yeah, and there's always I think a lot of people in life they more often regret the things they didn't do than the things they did do.
Yeah.
Do you know any autoandrophiles?
Um on Discord or in real life. I
Either.
can do. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I've just met one particular person on Discord who is autoandrophilia. Um I won't say their name, but I'll just say they're cool. uh I wonder actually how many people are walking around with autogynephilia and we don't even know because they don't ever like mention anything about it, you know.
Yeah, I expect quite a lot. I think it's about as common as same-sex attraction in males.
Yeah, that would make sense, I think. It's just, there's a society that doesn't really understand it very well, and a lot of people might not even realize that that's what they are, you know,
Yeah. I
because
mean,
yeah,
I had no idea until I learned about the concept and put actually quite a few hours into reading about it before I was sure that it described me just because the one sentence definition that Blanchard uses of propensity for sexual arousal to thought or image of self as a woman, um, that didn't really resonate with me that much.
yeah, I relate to that more. I don't relate to the Blanchard thing. Like I would say that I relate more to not relating to that, I guess is what I'm saying. As much. I mean.
Yeah, and like that's part of why I tend to I think it's better to describe it as an attraction instead of arousal because I think attraction encompasses a much broader set of thoughts and behaviors and also includes the romantic aspect.
Yeah,
But people don't usually talk about being romantically aroused, for example, you know?
right. Yeah, I would say that I'm more into myself as a woman than I mean, I have this probably isn't the best idea, but I've made photos of myself as a woman um as an outlet, and I think I kind of have fallen in love with the pictures. um
Why is it not the best idea?
I guess it's just cuz it kind of gets my hopes up for it being like what I'm going to look like when I transition, when it may not, you know?
Yeah. Are you talking about using filters?
Yeah, and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are definitely sort of a double-edged sword where some people they sort of do develop the expectation that they'll look like that and then they can get upset when that doesn't actually come to be.
Yeah, I think my new mindset now is pretty much just like I think I'm gonna and I think a better message in general, I guess, would be just love whatever you get, you know? Because that's really who you are as a female or a woman, you know?
Right, like accept what is real instead of being sad about what can't be.
Yeah, essentially. because I think that however however I look when I transition, I'm probably going to love it anyway because I love it when I put on makeup alone, and I'm not the most feminine looking guy, you know, but I look feminine when I put on makeup. If like I don't know.
And with transition, are you planning on doing both social and medical transition, or just the medical?
I think I'm gonna do both. Um, actually,
Yeah.
before I say that, I might want to know, I guess, like what's the difference between like social transitioning and like is it like voice changing and um like the difference between that and like just wearing the clothes and stuff like that.
I think I think the strongest sign of social transition is um, going by she her pronouns, or changing your name to a woman's name,
Yeah,
um, and also also presenting in a feminine manner socially.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's all I meant. Like, even if you don't do voice training, like if you say you transition and then you start going by she her pronouns, and have a woman's name, I would say that counts as social transition.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I might change my name legally to Kylie actually instead of River because um Kylie is my uh the name that I use for like feminine like being a woman, and then River is my gender neutral name. I only use that because of leftover from when I was questioning myself. Um, but but I also use it because it is also a woman's name too. So I might just change it to River to make it also easier on everyone, or in my real life as well, because I keep going back and forth with names, and I'm sure that's hard on people.
Yeah, it takes other people, I think, longer to catch up, because like, you're with yourself all the time, but they only see you occasionally, so it takes longer for them
Yeah,
to sort of change their habits of thinking about you.
yeah.
Are you with the medical transition, are you planning on, is hormones and FFS the extent of what you're thinking you're gonna do? Or do you think you'll do, further stuff like orchiectomy or vaginoplasty?
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to get bottom surgery. Probably won't be a vaginoplasty. It'll probably be a vulvoplasty though. And I think I'll also get like a glottal. I heard that there's like this thing you can actually change your vocal cords like surgically. I didn't know about that until I read something up on ChatGPT. But yeah, it's cool.
You were asking ChatGPT for, like, um, just about like, medical stuff related to transition?
Yeah, I use that deep research feature though. But well, actually, I would lie if I said I didn't do that one on the surface of ChatGPT.
Yeah,
But yeah,
what are you hoping to get out of transitioning?
um, transitioning, I hope that what I get out of it is essentially that I just feel better, I guess. Like I look more like a woman, so that way I can feel more like me, I guess. And then um I I guess, and I think that might be the harder question for me because there's so many things that I could get out of it, you know what I mean? Like, but I think the biggest thing is maybe like just being affirmed, you know? Like just like it just I just have like good hopes about it, and I feel like it's gonna be really, really good for me, just in general.
Are you
I
planning
mean,
on, do you plan on being a parent at any point? Like, are you thinking of saving sperm?
um, not really. I'm a Gen Z, and I'm one of the Gen Zers who says no kids, no way. It's just I don't know. It's for different reasons though. I just I don't know. I don't really like the idea of having kids, I guess. This is just a personal preference for me, but when it comes to other people, I think it's because a lot of people in my generation are like working a lot and don't really have time to, you know, change diapers and stuff. And but I think I don't know. Like I guess it's just not for me to have kids.
Yeah.
I
I j
might in the future, but
I just figured I'd ask because that's one of the biggest, trade-offs of transition. Often it is foregoing the reproductive cycle.
yeah, I
So
think that the
yeah,
oh
go on.
sorry. I was just gonna try and like put some filler in the silence for like that happened for like 2 seconds. uh,
Yeah, it's okay to have silence to think. Um,
yeah, that's all right.
it's not like a normal social situation where you're at a gathering or a party and then everyone feels super uncomfortable by like a second of silence, as if it's like the worst thing to hear your own thoughts.
Right.
So after transitioning, you think you don't think you'll pursue any women, but are instead gonna date men or trans women?
Yeah, probably. But if a woman wants to be with me, then I'll also, I mean, for me, I think something interesting, and I don't know if this is something that a lot of people relate to in general, like either autogynephilia or not, but like for some reason when it comes to my sexual preference, like when it comes to men, like I feel like I can't really be interested in a man until they're like initiating it, like initiating a relationship with me or interest in me.
Yeah, like they'd have to be the one that pursues you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal for AGPs to feel that way.
yeah.
Um, do you what are your hopes for how transgender discourse might evolve over time?
Um, I mean, I guess I just hope that it would be more accepting, more of autogynephiles, and also more acceptance for everybody in general, like from all sides of the aisle, like conservatives and liberals and just loving each other, like and trans people and autogynephiles loving each other. Reminds me of that song, How I'm Talking Right Now. It reminds me of maybe I'll be there to shake your hand, maybe I'll be there to share the land. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
not
want
sure.
one to love in peace.
You want like the sort of kumbaya, everyone gets along vision?
Yeah.
Um, do you do you do any posting about autogynephilia online or post in on Reddit or Twitter?
Yeah, on Reddit sometimes I will. I haven't really done it too much, but like I've a couple times I've made a post about I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, it was the way that I felt about actually being in the community itself and the love that I have for being around people who are a lot like me. Um,
Was that an Ask AGP?
yeah,
Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought some of the positive feelings because sometimes AGPs can sort of get down on themselves unnecessarily.
yeah. It saddens me sometimes, but can also anger me depending on what they say sometimes too though. But I try to be more sympathetic because I know that there's a lot of people who are just going through hard stuff in their minds, like emotional turmoil, don't really understand themselves and stuff, and you know.
What for any of the AGPs who are listening to this, what would you want them to know?
Oh, that you're talking to chat.
Oh,
um,
no, no. Like, yeah, for like AGPs are listening to this, like, what are some thoughts you have on these matters that you think you have that might be helpful for them?
um, I guess just try to learn a little bit more about or okay, actually, it would be easy to say just learn more, but I think actually above all else, try to learn more about yourself actually. And instead of learning from people online because everyone has their own experience. It's not going to be completely the same everywhere you go. Um, I would say try to look within the shadow that I talked about earlier. Look within the and do a little bit of research on Carl Jung too, if you don't completely understand what I mean on that. Look into how you feel in ways that are like um, a little bit deeper. Like uh, I my best way of doing that. I should really know the answer to how to look deep into myself because people always tell me like I'm so introspective. I always know, but no, I think that if anything, people should probably look more towards like what are the things that what are the things that you're feeling right now, you know? And then keep maybe like a I would maybe do this myself probably at some point, but keep like a journal or something that can tell that like has a list of emotions in it that you feel on a daily basis. Um, and then maybe you'll get like a better understanding of like yourself in that way. You know what I mean? Yourselves.
I think that's good advice to, instead of just taking other people's ideas or thoughts about matters, but instead think about how, like, who you are, how you really feel, and like prioritize that.
Yeah.
Are there any other thoughts you want to share before we wrap up?
Um. Hmm. I guess I'll just say that there's a lot of people out there with their own experiences and stuff, and um, I that I wish that people could understand this more about each other. That we're all different in the way we experience things, and that might help ease some of the tension that people have in certain communities, um, like HSTS and uh, versus AGP. Like I don't think that should be like a versus. Um, I mean, I also to any transgender people who are HSTS, like who are not AGP, or anybody who has gender dysphoria in general, just uh, who are just coming in here to just out of curiosity, I guess. I would say um, that we love you as much as we love anybody else. We love, and this out also goes out to other autogynephiles as well. Obviously, we love ourselves, so
Yeah, ideally.
ideally, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a good note to end on. I appreciate the positivity you bring to this discussion.
thank you,
And yeah, thanks for taking time to record this today.
thank you for having me.